Welcome everyone to the NetDocuments presentation on your first and last document management system. My name is Steve Latter. I'm the EMEA Sales and Account Manager for NetDocuments, and I'm pleased to be working with Tikit on this seminar series. This first webinar, as you have seen, is entitled Your First and Last Document Management System. This follows on from a presentation I gave at the National User Group a couple of weeks ago. For those of you that weren't there, it was a great performance, by the way, and a great event. But I'll just give you a quick background on what was covered on that day during my session. I spoke about three main topics. The first one was, where is your data? We covered topics such as data sovereignty. We then moved on to security, which is perhaps the most common question when talking about cloud-based document management software. We then finally moved on to talk about adoption and how you can get the best from NetDocuments and ensure that as many people as possible, hopefully 100% of your staff, are using NetDocuments once it's deployed. I'm not going to go back over those in detail, but if you want to get a copy of the slides, then we can make those available. But for today, I've just got a couple of quick slides. So I wanted to introduce NetDocuments for those of you who may not be aware of us. We are the only cloud-based document management software for the legal profession. True cloud, that is, not hosted, managed. And we've been in the business of delivering cloud-based document management for the last 19 years. The company has more experience than that in terms of document management, having previously been involved in the business of traditional document management software. We've seen significant growth over the last couple of years, 250% growth last year, and as we're drawing to the close of our financial year, we're looking to break that record once again this year with significant growth. We're a global organization. Head office is based in Utah in the US, but we have offices in London and offices in Australia. But we have a truly global presence with clients all over the world. I think the most recent client that was signed yesterday was from the Middle East. So we have a presence in all regions with over 2,000 clients using the service on a daily basis. One of the unique things about NetDocuments is that it is one service. So absolutely every one of our 2,000 clients and hundreds of thousands of users are all using exactly the same version of the system. That makes it very easy for us to support it. It makes it very easy for us to develop and upgrade and enhance because we don't need to do lots of testing against old versions. So everyone is on the same version of NetDocuments, and that's what you're going to see today. Just for your comfort and understanding, a quick display of some of our clients here in the UK. On the top line, some of our larger top 200 firms that are using NetDocuments. Below that, some international firms with a UK presence. So the American firm Milbank have a large London office that are using NetDocuments. Orica, an international firm with 23 offices and around 3,000 users, all using NetDocuments. And as we move down, there's an interesting change here from law firms to legal departments. So we have lots of in-house legal departments using NetDocuments. I've just put up some names there of brands that you're probably familiar with. And on the bottom line, some of our smaller and mid-tier clients. And our clients range all the way from 5 users to 5,000 users. And lots and lots of them in the middle there, in the sort of 50 to 200 users. So that's some of our clients. Now I want to just point out something unique about NetDocuments in the cloud-based document management space. So often people talk about systems and how you can interact with a system, the user interface and the user experience. And the fact is that traditional systems typically have one way of accessing and communicating. Unfortunately, that can be quite cumbersome for some people, and it doesn't fit everyone. So what we do with NetDocuments, being a true cloud solution, we're able to provide a number of different methods of interaction. The first is the browser. This is what we started with and what we're known for, but is not the only way of interacting with NetDocuments. I am going to cover this, this first option in more detail today. We'll be speaking about option 1, option 2, and 3. So option 2 is our ND Office interface. This is the Word, Excel, and PowerPoint interface. And we'll cover how you can interact here, and if you wish, only here and not via the browser. It really is a personal choice. The third option is Outlook. Many lawyers spend a lot of their time in Outlook, so it's obviously important and sensible that we have an interface with Outlook. So we'll cover that. I will just point out that I shan't be covering the mobile filing option of ND email, but I will cover Outlook on the desktop. So we'll stop at 3, but just to let you know, there is a fourth option, and that is the iOS and Android apps. So we can use our iPhones, iPads, and Android devices to communicate and work with NetDocuments. We'll cover 4, 5, and 6 later on in this webinar series. 5 is a synchronization feature, which is absolutely ideal and fantastic if you're a Mac user. And 6 is a true cloud integration with Office 365, thanks to our very tight relationship with Microsoft. We were invited to become a cloud storage provider by Microsoft. So as I say, we'll cover today 1, 2, and most of 3, and come back later in the webinar series for more information and perhaps demonstrations on some of those other points as well. So that's all for the PowerPoint. I'll get into the demonstration itself. So if you bear with me as I change screens here. And we'll get into the browser interface where I said I'd spend some of the time today. So we have a single sign-on, so just double-click on the NetDocuments logo or icon, and you'll be straight into NetDocuments on your browser. We're browser agnostic, so it really doesn't matter if you're a fan of Chrome, Firefox, Safari, Internet Explorer. They all work pretty much exactly the same, so your experience will be the same across those different browsers. Now, what we're looking at here is the home page, and in the top left corner, you'll see my law firm logo. So for the purposes of today, I am working for Chancellor & Gold. That's a well-known law firm that I've recently made up. So this is the home page. Now, what we're looking at here is my view on the world of my favorite and most important items. I say items because some of these are emails, some are documents, some are client and matter folders, some are project folders. I refer to these as workspaces in the top left corner, these client and matter folders or project folders. So my terminology is workspace. So everything you're seeing on the screen now is here because I've chosen to put it here on my home page. I've turned the little star next to the items on. If I turn them off, it will disappear from my view next time I come to this home page. I also have the option to move documents around. So if I've favorited an item by putting the star on, then this PowerPoint will appear in my favorite items. But this is actually a presentation that I'm working on for Claire, because she has a presentation coming up next week. So I can move this into the area here, Docs by Claire. So there's the documents I'm working on for Claire. Over on the right are the documents I'm working on for Paula. So I can arrange the layout, the subheadings and folders, and if I wish to, I can just customize this and create a new personal section. So here, here is the work for Sam. And I've created a new section there. I'd like it over on the left-hand side, just below Steve Docs. Save the changes, and next time the screen loads in, we'll see I've got this new area where I've got the work for Sam. And I'm going to bring the Tikit Partner for Windows agreements down there, and I'll also bring in the golfing injuries PDF. So there's my new layout, and next time I come to NetDocuments, this is the home screen that I'll be presented with. So as I say, the home screen allows you to tailor it to look and feel how you want it to, and bring it to the surface your favorite items. Just a couple of other points on the home screen. The law firm logo at the top left here, if I click this, I come back to this home screen. So this logo is present throughout the system. If I click on it, I come back to this home screen. Upload is an option for me to upload documents. I'll cover that later on. Here I can create new documents from NetDocuments. This is my search bar. This is a smart search tool, so if I'm searching at this level, I'm searching over the whole of the system. If I move down within a client or matter, the search bar will still be there, and I'll be searching within the client and matter. I'll come over to the right-hand side a bit later. But just on the left here, I've got a navigation pane, which I've minimized. I prefer to keep it minimized so that I've got more screen real estate. If you wish to, you can have this pinned open. And there we can add our client details, matter details, and open that particular file. So just start typing, and it will predict for you. This is John Lewis Partnership. If I can't remember the matter reference number, you can push these little 3 dots. It will bring it open for me over here. And if that's the selection that I wish to make, then it will load me straight into that particular client and matter. Notice I can, in my home screen button where you saw my law firm, I can customize this and have unique logos in there. So I may have the client's logo. And this might be relevant if I wish to share this view or this screen with third parties or perhaps with the clients themselves. So now we've moved into the client and matter. So the John Lewis Partnership merger with Marks and Spencer's. You heard it here first. I made that up as well, I think. So now we've moved into this client and matter. Let me just take you for a tour around the screen because it looks a little bit different again. So now beneath this title section, we're seeing a number of documents. They may be Word documents, PDFs, PowerPoints, spreadsheets, etc., but they're categorized into different groups. And this is entirely up to you as a firm in terms of how you want to categorize these. This is at the moment based on my document types. So I have some corporate documents here. Here I have some letters. Here I have some correspondence documents. So it's all based on the document type. You'll notice that these folders are blue with a little white symbol inside them. So these are my different filters. A document appears underneath this if it satisfies that filter of document type, corporate documents. On the right-hand side, I have a slightly different looking icon. This red folder with a magnifying glass, if you can see that, that is a saved search. So these documents over here are appearing here because they satisfy the search criteria of this saved search. And in this example, I think it's documents with a key date coming up in the next 3 months. Excuse the American layout of that date there. Now further down, we have another example of a different type of folder. Here I've got Property B and a yellow folder. And these are folders that I've manually created, and rather than the ones above which have been created by the system by default. These items that I've manually created are there so that I can then drag and drop documents into those subfolders. Now, why would I want to manually create a folder like that? It may be that I'm gathering together a series of documents over here in Property A so that I can share those with a third party or share those with people internally. I can bring one of my colleagues into the matter and say, I've gathered together all the documents relevant for Property A for you to review. Simon, please would you go through that and let me know what you think. Simon may review those and create some additional versions, increment those versions. He may point out that there's 1 or 2 documents missing from that, and I can then add those in. Another scenario might be that you wish to bundle these together and create a selection of documents and bring them all into one single document. It's really up to you how you want to work, but this is the ability, again, to customize the way things look and feel, and to create additional folders and subfolders. Now, it just occurred to me that I'm looking at these Property A, Property B, and Property D. Oh, and there it is down at the bottom, Property C folders, and I don't like the way they're laid out on screen, so I'm going to just amend that, just to illustrate how simply and easily we can change the layout So let's customize this workspace. I've got a view here of those different folders. I can just move things around, literally drag and drop. Pop those over here, I'll put the agreements over there, some tax materials, documents, and what we should see now as I save the changes, and in the background we'll come in to see property A, B, C, and D folders are now there for me. Now you might have noticed that some of these folders have a little number to the right of them. In this example, all correspondence says approximately 13 results. So there are about 13 documents that satisfy the filter correspondence, so document type correspondence, but I'm only displaying 5 of them. Now I can edit that and say display 1, 5, 10, 30, whatever I choose really. But this is just to keep it simple. We'll see the most recent documents, so most recently modified at the top. There will be more below that. If I wish to go into this and find the other documents, then I can either press next and it will load in the next documents, or I can in fact click on the title or the heading of all correspondence, and I'll now drill down another layer and see all of those 13 documents. Now the great thing about seeing the documents at this stage, at this level, is that with this list I can make a selection, and on the right hand side I can view a preview. So this example is a spreadsheet, and I'm seeing a preview of that spreadsheet on the right hand side. It may be that it's a PowerPoint that I'm wishing to view. I can see that there, or indeed a Word document. As I move down through the screen, it just loads in the new preview. The alternative, if I wish to, is to look at details about that document. So you notice here that this document was created and modified by myself. It's a Word document. I can see the size, the unique 12-digit document ID, and that this is version 2. That gives me a little tip that there might be a version 1. And in fact, over on the left-hand side, the little blue V2 tells me that this is version 2, and therefore there will be other versions. Below we have some profile information, so the client and matter that this document is saved against, the author of the document, and the correspondence, the document type being correspondence, which is why it falls under this filter. There are additional profile fields that I can choose to add if I wish to, and it's important to point out at this stage that these document types, comments, key dates, these profile fields are unique to the firm, so you can set up as many of these as you wish. You can have custom profile fields, they can be pick lists, they can be dates, they can be free format fields, and you can define as many of these as you wish. You can also have templates which define these per department. So one department might have 4 or 5 fields to fill in, another department might only have 2. Entirely up to you. As we move down, we can see versions 2. If I expand this, we can see some information about the 2 different versions and the dates that those versions were created. If you wish to, you can click on the v1.docx and launch that version and find out more information about that. On the left-hand side, next to all of these documents, you'll see a little box. This is a selection box, so I can put a tick in there, but I can put a tick in multiple boxes, and then I can take action over those 3 selected items. So I could email a link to all 3 documents. I could choose to export or print or download those documents, or share them externally, or send them to another application. So lots of activities, lots of actions I can take over multiple documents, or indeed just the one document. Just whilst I have this open, I'll point out this item here, to follow. This is a really useful tool for management, perhaps, or somebody who's responsible for the matter as a whole. You have the option at the document level, or at a folder level, or at a workspace level to follow. If you set up a follow, then you can be notified by email or RSS feed if any changes happen to that document or if a new version is created. So it's a really useful tool to be able to monitor activity just in the background without having to go in and check up on things all the time. Let me just come out of this view, we'll move up a level and go back to the view that I had before. Now, this is how I like to use NetDocuments and have this matter-centric view with my different categories. So I've grouped my documents, but some people don't like to work like that. Some people prefer to just see a list of documents that belong to this matter and see them in chronological order. And if that's your preference, then it's as simple as clicking the switch to list view, and you'll see that list of documents. So these are all the documents that relate to that matter, and we're seeing them all here just in a long list. Now, you can, again, control the layout of this page, so how much room you leave on the right-hand side for details or preview, and you can also choose which columns to show here, and the sort order of those columns as well. Now, as I say, I prefer personally the summary view or the matter-centric view, so I'm going to switch back to that. And I'm just going to have a look at the Enron revised December 17 document. What I'm going to do is share this securely. So rather than sending this via email, I'm going to do something called deliver a secured link. So if I make a selection, I can right-click or I can click on these down arrows, and then I'll choose this option here, deliver a secured link. Now, you might notice there's lots and lots of options here that I can take over a particular document, and we don't have time in today's session to cover all of this. And some of those are used infrequently, and some of them are used lots and lots of times during your working day. But what I would suggest is if anyone has any questions at the end and wants to see more about any specific features or functions there, then you raise that at that stage. Time I can demonstrate a particular feature, or we can take that offline and pick it up with you individually. So here I'm just going to deliver this secured link. So rather than sending this email as an attachment, what I can do is send a link to somebody. That person will have access to that document until I decide that they don't have access anymore, because I'm in full control of this. And I can choose to password protect if I wish. I can set an expiration date, so 29th of December 2016. Again, I'll just point out here that I'm logging into a US version of the system, so hence the US date. For yourselves, you'd be logging into the UK version of the system with a UK date there. So we can set an expiration date. I can reduce this so it's only open for a week if I wish. Send the documents to, let's send these to me. If I could type. I can type a unique message in here if I wish to, copy the email to myself, and I can allow the recipient to download the document or not. So if I don't allow them to download, they will have a browser view of this document, but they won't be able to access it any further than that. Alternatively, if I want them to have access in Word, for example, and I wish for them to potentially make changes, then I can allow them to download that document. I'm going to say that in this example it's view only, so it's just a link. And then I can add a comment in there and send. So I'm sharing this document. I've delivered a secured link. And as you saw, that's open and available until the 29th of December. After that point, the link won't work at all, and there'll be no access to this document. Now, I could deliver a secured link to another party if I wish to. So I could choose now to share it with somebody else and somebody else. And I can even make multiple selections and share a number of documents via this deliver a secured link method. One of the options that I have once a link has been shared is to revoke a link. So if I no longer wish to have that document shared, then I can just turn that link off. Perhaps I'm creating a new version of it, then turn the link off and no one will have access any longer. So this was my view of the client and matter. I had a number of different views here, so filtered documents, saved searches, folders that I've created. I've put documents into that folder specifically for the purpose of sharing internally or creating a bundle. But this is my subset of documents. One thing to point out is that if a document exists in this folder, because I've placed it there, it may also exist above. So you can see this family dollar stores. satisfies the filter criteria. So there's not two documents or two copies of that or anything. It's the same document, just being viewed in different locations. The final view that I didn't share with you is over here, Docs to Share, and this is something we call a share space. So if you wanted to share more documents or with more people than the deliver a secured link method that I just demonstrated would be suitable for, then we can set up a share space. So this share space I've created, I've only added 2 documents to it at the moment, and I've not shared it with anyone. But here I can add a larger number of documents, and then I can invite people to that share space. So if I invite a new person in there, I'll invite the boss into the share space here, and I can give Alison view, edit and share privileges, or maybe view only if she has no need to be able to edit or share those documents. But any level of access right up to administrator, and you can bring any number of people into this share space. You can even set somebody with no access, and that seems a bit strange. Why would you give them no access? It may be that you're not ready to share the whole of that share space yet, or indeed that you've temporarily wishing to remove their access while you make some changes and then bring them back to a certain level of access. So all of this is under your full control, and I don't have any sort of special training or privileges or permissions over this share space, just enough permission to create a share space and share these documents. So I don't need to go to IT or to an administrator to be able to share documents with third parties. I just create it, add the people into that share space, and send them a link. Again, you're in full control, so if you wish to remove things from the share space, just drag them out or remove them. If you wish to add new documents to the share space, then it is just a drag and drop. So from this screen, I can bring things down into that share space just by dragging and dropping them in. We'll take a document here, drop it into the share space. You'll see it's then added. Okay, and that will be visible to the external parties as well. That's my matter-centric view. I would like to just take you to an area where most people first interact with NetDocuments in the browser. So rather than going into the home screen and finding a document, rather than going into a client or matter and finding the document, a lot of the time people are saying, well, it's a document I worked on recently. So here I have my recent documents, and if I hit this down arrow, you'll see the last document I worked on was this particular agreement. So hit the button there, and what will happen now is I'll download that from NetDocuments and I'll launch it in Word. So we're open in Word. You can see this is version 2 of the document. There's a unique 12-digit ID. And last time we added some comments here, Richard had something to add. And now Lucy has more comments. So this is going to be version 3. So what I can do here is File, and I can save this back into NetDocuments as version 3 by default. So by choosing the Save As, you'll see this little box is ticked, Save as a new version. Up here, we've got the title. There's a green tick next to it because NetDocuments has automatically checked it out because I've opened it. If a document's checked out, then nobody else can access that document. They can't make changes to it. They can view it in read-only mode, but they can't make any changes to it. So whilst I've got this checked out, I can be making amendments and updates, and I can say that this is with Lucy's comments. So it's just a description of this version so that I know when I'm looking at versions 1, 2, and 3, 2 is with Richard's comments and version 3 adds Lucy's comments. So if I save this now, we'll see if we keep an eye on the top of the screen and at the bottom. Good luck with doing both of those things. At the top of the screen, we've got version 3 now, so it's been incremented. And at the bottom of the screen, when I close this down, we should see a little pop-up around about here. There we are. That's been checked in successfully. So now if we go to the screen, we'd see it checked back in, and if anyone's accessing it, they'll see it as version 3 of the document. Okay. So I just touched on the second way of interacting with NetDocuments. So not the browser, but the Word, the Word and PowerPoint and Excel interface. So let's pick up on that and just explore that a bit further. If I open Word up here, and I'd like to, let's assume that I'm not a big fan of using the browser, and I'd really like to spend my time in Word and PowerPoint, Excel, but I wish to open a document from my document management system. So press File, Open, and here I'm presented with a reasonably familiar looking screen. And what I've got here are my recent documents I've been working on. If I go to Home, you'll see something familiar here in terms of the matters that I've favorited onto my home screen, or indeed certain documents that are favorited. Alternatively, I can go down to the client documents or client workspaces. These are my favorite workspaces. And I can go and find a particular document. It might be something that's under the Property A folder. Let's open that up, and let's take a look at this particular document here. So make that selection. We'll launch that document. We'll download it now from NetDocuments. It'll be checked out automatically, and it's here for me to make some amendments to. And if I wish, I can go through and see what changes I might need to make. And we'll put in a little section here. So let's put some additional clauses here. This is really just a note for my team, so they know that something needs to go in at this point. So I'll make it obvious and clear for them, and we'll save this. I've got two options here. So if I just save it, I'll save it as the same version. It's still version 1. If I save as, then I'll increment the version. I'm just going to save this back, leaving it as version 1. And that option is something that you can set up per firm. So if the firm would prefer to have auto versioning, so every time a new person makes a change or an amendment to the document, then the version is incremented. You can set it up that way. If you prefer to leave it to the individuals to decide when they increment the version, then you could set the system up that way. So that's opening a document from Word. We've saved it back into NetDocuments. We've not gone anywhere near that browser that I mentioned. So this is all just with using the Office interface and our integration there. So now I'm going to start with a blank document. And somebody once taught me this nice little trick to put text on the screen quickly. So there we are, I'm super fast at typing. And this is my new agreement here. So let's just give that a new contract for, see how bad I am at typing really, for review. Okay, let's do that. And now I wish to save that. Okay, so at the moment, this is just a Word document, a new document, document 1. And what I can do here is File and Save. We're saving that into NetDocuments. We can default it and force this screen as soon as you press File Save. So some people like to ensure that everything gets saved into the document management system and discourage anything from being saved locally or indeed anywhere else. So in this example, I'm just going to save this. Now, it's gone to my last save location because I said save as, and the last save location was in the John Lewis merger with Marks and Spencer's. But actually, that's not where I need to save this document. This new document needs to go into another location. So let me just pop back, and I'll find the Costa Coffee franchise sales. So we'll pop it into there. And this is going to be a new franchise agreement. And I've got some options below here. So there are a couple of ways of achieving this. So you'll see the document has picked up the client and matter profiling information because I've chosen to save it there. Now, the author can be picked up as me by default, or I might be doing this work on behalf of John. So I'll put John in as the author of the agreement. And now I can choose document type. So I can make the selection here, and I can pick from a list of document types. This might be an agreement, or alternatively, if I just cancel there, you can see that there are certain folders within this, and at the moment there are some administrative items or some corporate documents, so I could choose to save it under that location, and you'll see that it picks up by default corporate documents. So I'll leave that in there. Let me just pop John back in as the author. And I've got some options here, but these ones are not compulsory, so there's no asterisk against them. I don't need to add key dates or comments, but if I wish to, then I've got a calendar there, and I can pick a key date by which this agreement or contract needs to be reviewed, or some other purpose. Press save on that, and you'll notice at the very top that instantly the document gets its 12 digits, unique 12 digits user ID, and version 1 in here. That's my new document ready. Close it down, and then it'll pop up in a moment just to let me know that it's been saved and checked in successfully. So whether it's Word, Excel, or PowerPoint, exactly the same interface there. The same is true of Adobe as well for the PDFs. If we're opening, we can open and find the document in NetDocuments without having to go anywhere near any of the other interfaces. And if we're saving, we can save it straight into NetDocuments very quickly and easily. And let me just do that once more for you, just to show you without the sort of commentary how quickly and easy it is to save that into NetDocuments. So file save. Here's the example. I'm going to choose to save that into the property folder because this is new property. Pick an author and choose a document type. This one can be saved, and that's in. Okay, so nice and easy, and really quite similar to how people are saving documents now. Down here at the bottom where we've seen this pop-up coming, there is also this MD button. Now this is NetDocuments Office or MD Office, and this is a bit like an activity center. So if you've used anything like Dropbox, then you might have seen something similar to this. This activity center shows all of the recent documents, so we can see all the documents that I've been working on today, different versions, what time they've been checked in. And if I scroll down, then I can see activity from yesterday, and then going back before yesterday. We see I was working over the weekend, and we can keep going back and back. Now, the other thing that's useful about this is that if I'm not sure which of these versions I'm interested in, I can click on the information button there, and it will tell me some more information about that document and whether there's any comments. Here we are with Lucy's comments. That was the one that I was looking for. So it's version 3 that I want. Let me just open that up then. Version 3, click on that. Again, another interface, another way of interacting with NetDocuments. We're just using our activity center down the side here. So anything that we've worked on recently, we can access like this. Okay, so you're starting to get the feel that there's a number of different ways that we can use the system, and it really depends on our preferences and how we like to operate. So let's just go that one down as we're getting sort of 2/3 of the way through. I want to move on now. We've covered section 1 from my slide earlier, the browser interface. I will come back to that because there's something very important that I need to cover. And then we've covered the Word, Excel, and PowerPoint interface. We'll now look at Outlook. As I mentioned, lots of us spend a lot of our time here dealing with emails that are coming in. Sometimes those emails have attachments, and we need to deal with those. So let's just take a moment to have a look at how we get the emails that have come in into NetDocuments, because essentially emails are documents as well. So we're looking at a fictitious inbox here. There's an interesting story, actually. This all of these emails, or the vast majority, actually relate to the Enron scandal. So in the US, when this became sort of public knowledge, all of the documents became disclosed. So thousands and thousands of emails out there for all of us to view. So some of them make some interesting reading, but that's just to point out that this is fictitious emails and interesting email addresses as well. So let's have a quick look at one of these emails, and I want to save this into my NetDocuments system, but where should I be saving it? Well, if we take a look at the top, there's a suggestion for it here in this ND save area that will appear on your ribbon. There is a suggestion that this should go into this location. So as I hover over it, it expands out and says this should go into administrative items under Costa Coffee franchise sales. So yes, that's great. That's where I'm going to put it. That's done. Move on. Okay, and that's it. It's as simple as that. It's one click. It's filed. It's saved there. It's been checked in. You can see it at the bottom. And if I look here in this column, ND location, then I can see, and if I hover over it, it will expand. I can see where it's been filed to. Okay, so just on that again, it's a suggestion up there. Click the button, and that will be filed. So you're probably wondering, well, it can't be as simple as that. How is this working? So this example is working based on the location of the emails that I've filed from this person in the past. So if I take a different email from a different person, you'll see in this example, I've never received any emails from this person or filed any emails from this person, so it doesn't have a suggestion. If I've received emails and I've filed them in a number of different locations, then it might have multiple suggestions. So rather than just the one option, I might have more filing locations. And it will show me the last filing location as the suggestion, and the rest of them under more filing locations. So let's take the example here where it's not been filed before, and obviously it's a bit more than one click, but let's just go through the process and see how easy it is to save this into NetDocuments. So press the Save button. These are my recent locations that I've been working, so these are the subfolders within various clients and matters. So we can see that that's the Property A folder for the John Lewis merger. And if that's the location, then just tick the box. The email is profiled for me, but I can make some amendments to that. If I wanted to add some comments or add a key date or something, then I can add some more information in there. Save it, or indeed save and close, and that job's done. Okay, so still a quick process just to file that. Let's pick up another one. Just do something slightly different this time. So it's not somewhere I've filed it recently, but if I go to my client documents and I say that actually I want to expand that out, and I want to expand my recent workspaces, and I'll find one of these other ones. It's actually under here, and it's this emails. I'm going to save it in this location. Okay, again, just a few clicks away. We need to find the location, put the tick in the box. And some of you may have experienced a sort of drag and drop approach to filing emails, and you may be doing that at the moment with your folders in Outlook. The danger of that is you drop it onto the wrong location. The dragging bit's easy, the dropping's not so accurate. So here we're just ensuring it definitely goes into the right place and giving you the option to put the tick in the box. As I say, once you've filed emails from that person, you'll start to get suggestions, which are just a tick away. Let me just take another scenario where we have attachments to an email. So if I pick up this one here, for example, whilst there's a suggestion for me here to file that under the Costa Coffee franchises client and matter, in fact, I'm not really worried about the email because all it says is great picture of the kids. I said there's some interesting ones in here. So I don't want to save the email. The email is fairly irrelevant, but the document is important, so I want to save that. Now, there are a number of ways of doing this. The quickest way I find is to just hit that down arrow, save to NetDocuments, and choose the location of that. So we know that we've been advised that this should go under Costa Coffee franchise and administrative items, so that's where it's directing me. But in fact, this isn't admin items, this is something else. So let's profile that differently, and we'll say that this is actually a letter. So make the selection there. That's now been reprofiled. Press save, and the document will be saved now. That's done. Okay, so we've now filed the document, but we're not worried about the email itself. And that's the simple ways of saving documents or attachments into NetDocuments, or indeed saving emails. And one other point to mention is the fact that we can make multiple selections. So if I'm sort of gathering together a number of emails with attachments and I'm saving those, then you'll see here I've got the 3 different messages, and I've got the option here of breaking it out and saying just save the attachments, just save the attachment. I'm not interested in the email itself on those examples. This email I want, those 2 attachments I want, and I'll put them all into this property A folder, giving them all the same profile. Or I can break them out and work on them individually. This option here allows me to rename. So if I don't want to call it gas contract review, then I can rename that to something else more meaningful. So that's saving in there. And this is the email interface. Later on in the webinar series, I will go on to cover another option for emails, but just to let you know that it's out there. There is a more advanced filing solution, which is called ND Email, and that's true predictive filing. Lots of intelligence involved in that. The NetDocuments system will read the content of emails and base its suggestions on where it should be filed on what's actually in the email itself or in any of the attachments. And that suggestion is also something that you can define as to what level of confidence you're comfortable with. If the confidence is very high, you can have it automatically file so that there's literally no action and no ticking of any boxes. Or alternatively, you can leave it down to the individuals. That is a global filing as well. So if one person files it, then anyone else that's copied in will also see that that email has been filed, and there'll be no action for them to take. They can just go and pick up the email or document from NetDocuments. So as I say, that one I'll cover in another session. It warrants its own session. There's lots of detail and complexity to that, and it's really suitable for the larger clients, so the top end of the mid-market and up into the larger firms. So as I say, that for another day. Just before I leave the Outlook interface, one thing that's quite common, you saw me delivering a secured link earlier, and that's the safest and sensible way to attach documents, but sometimes there's documents that we wish to attach that aren't sensitive. We don't need to be worrying about the security of them, perhaps. And in this example, we can just press the ND attach. We'll be brought to this familiar screen showing our recent documents. We can go to client folders, subfolders. We can go back to our home screen, and we can pick up documents here, and we can say that these particular documents I wish to insert an attachment. Or if it's internal and just for another one of your users, you can send a link rather than clogging up the Exchange server with multiple versions of documents. Let's insert that, those 3 documents then. We'll see them inserted in here. And I do also have the option here to zip. So on the fly, I can zip these so that they're not too large. Alternatively, I can edit. So here I can say, well, I don't want this to be new property lease because that implies that I've recently changed it. So for this recipient, I'm just going to amend that and call it final property lease so they don't get any ideas about amending it. So we can change the title of documents. We're only changing it here in the email. We're not changing the actual title of the document in documents. And I can change the order of these. So if I wanted them to be viewed in a different way or appearing in a different way, then I can do that. And the final option is to convert those into PDFs. So if I wish to, I could convert one or a number of them into PDFs on the fly. When I'm done, I can press send, and if it was converting to PDF, it would do that at that stage, and then send. Close that down. The other thing you can do at that stage is force, if you wish, force your users to file that so that the outgoing emails are filed automatically. If somebody is then replying to that email, the fact that it is part of a thread will ensure that it has a suggestion as to where it should be filed. So that's the everything I wanted to cover today on the Outlook interface. I will just do one last thing in the browser interface. I said I'd come back to that as we've got about 10 minutes left, and I want to leave a bit of time for questions and answers as well. So I mentioned right at the start of this, I mentioned the search bar here. So I'm just going to revisit that and show you how easy it is to search for things within NetDocuments. So I'm going to search for the word agreement, and I can choose to search in the name and subject of a document, or I can search everything. If I search everything, I'm literally searching for the word agreement within every heading, every title, every document, every cell in Excel, every PowerPoint, every email, every attachment to every email, and I'm coming back with, in this example, 256 results. Now, in a live environment, I'd obviously come up with even more than that, but either way, I've got too many results. I can't possibly find the document I'm actually looking for just based off of one word. So very much like Google, where you put a search in, and there is lots of intelligence that brings these things to the surface, as in most recently accessed or used, or most recently edited and modified documents. But the reality is it may be page 3 or 4 where I find the document I'm really looking for. So rather than just scrolling down, we've got a couple of options. We can turn the preview on, and as you saw earlier, we can load in a preview of that document, because often it's the look of a document that tells me if it's the one I'm looking for or not. And if here's a spreadsheet, and here's the word agreement highlighted everywhere in that spreadsheet, and that brings me to something. I've realised that there's no point in me searching for spreadsheets, because I know it's not a spreadsheet that I'm looking for. So let's just go over to the left-hand side and look at my search criteria and my filters. So here I can narrow my search results by saying, now, it's not an Excel spreadsheet, so there's no point looking for those. And in fact, I know it's a PDF, so I'll make that selection. Apply that, and you'll see that I'm going to get back a much smaller subset, and in fact only 20 results. Furthermore, I might wish to have a look at the modified date and say, actually, I know the modified date was within the last year, so let's have a look at that. If it was older than a year, then it wouldn't be relevant to me anymore. So let's pick that up. I've trimmed this right down to 3 results. And now it might be appropriate to just use the preview and find which document I'm actually after. At that stage, then I can just click on the title and launch the document. But if I'd gone too far with my filtering, then I can come back out and say, actually, that was one step too far on the filter, so I'll take that back out and go back to all dates. And in fact, I'll go by something else instead, like modified by, and say it's one that Bradley created, all modified. So let's go and find that. So starting with a very, very broad search in a Google style, we can then drill down until we find the document that we're looking for. And that is how some people like to search. However, not everyone. Some people are very sophisticated in their search, and they like to put some more information into their search term, and they might like to search for something with Boolean operators here, so searching for Friday and agreement within the document. But they might want to be more sophisticated than that and say, let's search for Friday, but not the word agreement, because all I've done there is say, find me every document with the word Friday in it and the word agreement in it, either in the title or within the body. And I've got too many results. Now, again, I could filter down and get to the right one, or I could say Friday with the word agreement within 10 words of it, so you know that they're related. Or you could have a phrase search, and there are many other ways of, many other options in terms of this search field if you want to type it straight in. Again, that's not suitable for everyone, so some people prefer a form or filter view like this. And here I can say that I'm searching for the word agreement, and I'm fairly confident that the this agreement was modified within the last year. So in here I can put -365, and I can do my search there. Okay, I've got about 85 results. And in that search form, I could have put any number of these filters in terms of who the author was or who the created date was. I can go back to that and filter that search further and say that the author in this occasion was somebody from this list, or make a selection against all of them there. And you can see, therefore, there's lots of different ways of searching for information. It's really up to you as an individual in terms of how you want to use that search. Do you want to start wide and narrow down, or do you want to put lots of information in to get to the item?